Hi, friends. Welcome to your tarot reading. Today we are going to ask the question, what love message do you need to hear? I have pulled out a whole slew of decks here, and we are going to get some answers from them. Let me get some smoke on these cards to get them ready. And I'll tell you the decks. I've taken the Star Spinner Tarot here and paired it with Selenite. That's going to be group one. Group two, you've got the Ethereal Visions Tarot, the Luna edition, paired with a black agate. Group three, I've got you with the Ancient Italian Tarot, and that's paired with Fluorite. And group four, over here on the end, for that, we've got the Rider-Waite Tarot, and that's the Radiant edition, paired with a Desert Rose Selenite crystal. So those are the decks I'll be using for each individual reading, but I've also pulled out my squid cake. We're going to use that for a focus message for each reading. I'm going to set that aside for now. And probably most importantly, I've pulled out the 4 knights, one from each suit, from the Fyodor Pavlov tarot. And so these I'm going to just shuffle now, and I'm going to assign one to go with each pile. And so I want you to think about the person, if there's a certain person in your life who you're like not in a relationship with, but wondering if it's possible or could be in a relationship, or do they have a crush on you, or you're just wondering like how things might work out between you. I want you to think about that person. If you don't have a specific person in mind, then I just want you to focus on each card and choose the one that you are drawn to. Okay, so let's assign one knight to each one of these cards. So we'll take Knight of Wands. We'll go with group one. Okay, Knight of Wands. We'll go with group one. Knight of Swords. We'll go with group two. Knight of Coins. We'll go with group three. And of course, that leaves the Knight of Cups for group four. Okay. So there's a couple ways that you could do this. If you already know which one you want to go to, the timestamps are below. But let me tell you about each of the knights so that if you're trying to choose between them, maybe I can help. So you could go by, if you know their sun sign, you could go by that, right? Fire signs for wands, air signs for swords, earth signs for coins, water signs for cups. That would be one way to choose. You could also go by personality, right? So the Knight of Wands is someone who's can be kind of impulsive, likes to be excited, likes to be stimulated, likes to go out there and do stuff, tends to be a social person, might be an athlete because we associate wands with the muscles, but that's not always true, just sometimes. So that would be Knight of Wands. Knight of Swords, this is a more intellectual person. They tend to be calmer, at least on the outside, although underneath the surface there can be a lot going on. They can get very like hyper-focused on stuff. They can almost be fanatical about stuff sometimes in a way that can both be endearing and maybe a little annoying at times. Knight of Swords is the kind of person who wants to like go and charge into battle and fight for what they believe in when there is something that they get really worked up about, but they tend to be very calm and like put together most of the time until there's like something that crosses a line with them, and then bam, they will go for it. Knight of Coins, this is someone who's dependable. They like safety. They like to be secure. They tend to follow authority. even if it's an unconventional kind of authority. They're someone who knows how to get the job done every day, or like take care of their house every day, show up to school every day, or class or whatever it might be. Um, they're very dependable, right? They can be the kind of person also, like a drawback there is they can sometimes get a little lazy, and they can sometimes, some people might think that they're a little bit boring. Like I think the Knight of Wands might think the Knight of Coins is kind of boring, but the Knight of Coins is like, no, I want to, there's nothing wrong with staying in and watching another episode of my favorite show, right? Knight of Cups tends to be more romantic and in touch with their emotions. They can be very creative. Um, they're the kind of person who tends to go with the flow, right? They don't like to start up conflicts if they don't have to, unlike the Knight of Swords, who would be more inclined to start up a conflict um, if they believe that it's the right thing to do, right? But the Knight of Cups is more like easygoing, might be the kind of person who might do or say things that are stereotypically romantic. Um, I think I already said they can be very creative. They can sometimes, a flaw in this person might be sometimes they can be a little conceited, a little bit full of themselves. They very much appreciate when other people recognize their uniqueness, and that's great. But it's one possible flaw with this person is they take it a little bit too far. Okay. So these are the 4 piles. The timestamps are below. Just to remind you, Star Spinner Tarot with the Knight of Wands and Selenite. That's number 1. Knight of Swords with the Black Agate and the Ethereal Visions Luna Edition. That's number 2. We've got the Ancient Italian Tarot with the Knight of Coins and the Fluorite, number 3. And the Rider-Waite Tarot, the Radiant Edition. That's the Knight of Cups with the Desert Rose. I look forward to seeing you in your reading. I'll see you there. Hello, Group 1, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Knight of Wands paired with this beautiful selenite and the Star Spinner Tarot. So let me set the Knight of Wands card aside. It's over here looking down on the rest of the reading. Here is the beautiful Star Spinner Tarot. I've shuffled it. Let me do a little more shuffling. And what we'll do is start out with just asking the question, what message do you need to hear about this person right now? Okay, whoever your Knight of Wands is, what message do you need to hear about that person? So let's give these a little shuffle. And your Knight of Wands person might be very social, likes to go out, or maybe nowadays it might be more like is very involved online, right? In like social media, right? Like maybe they post a lot, have lots of followers, that kind of thing. But they like excitement. They like things that stir them up and get them fired up and get them going, right? They don't want anything to ever be boring, right? They want things to be fiery and exciting and fun. They like to have fun. I'm not sure I've said that. Knight of Wands likes to have fun. They like to travel often. This could be someone who likes to travel. Okay. So what message do you need to hear about your Knight of Wands? That's where we're starting. Judgment. Maybe they're going to call you or text you, reach out to you, right? That's what I would see. We've got this angelic figure with this horn, right? Like calling out, making an announcement. Eight of Cups. Maybe they're feeling kind of lonely. Eights, I think, in terms often of movement, and with cups or chalices, it's emotional movement. So there could be some advancement or like movement forward regarding their feelings towards you. And so maybe they're thinking about calling because of the emotional movement. Strength. Okay. So, strength could be that they are trying to muster up the strength to call, right? So, or text or reach out, right? Contact, whatever method today that might be. Um, so, the strength card makes me think that maybe they're feeling a little insecure. And so they want to be who they truly are. They want to like show you who they really are, open up to you in some way, but they're afraid that maybe you won't accept it, or they're afraid that you won't like who they really are. And so they are holding back a little. That's the sense I would get with strength card laid out here, which there is a lot of optimism, I would say, with fortitude or strength ending this little string of cards, this little triplet of cards. Uh, like maybe they're considering calling because they've had this movement of their feelings, advancement of their feelings, and on the horizon is them finally getting the strength to reach out to you. That would be one way to interpret this. Another way to interpret this would be to think about the way these the elemental dignities of the cards are showing up, where we've got judgment is fire, strength is fire because Leo's the lion, right? A fire sign. And then chalices, of course, are water. And so another way of thinking about this might be that these two cards are overpowering this one, right? That the fire cards are like amplifying each other, and that's weakening or drowning out what we see in the Eight of Chalices. And so it's almost like there could be a lot of noise and waking up, right? That's very strong, right? That is maybe drowning out some of the potential emotional movement that is there, right? But maybe not being able to get activated because there's so much else going on. So let's see. We're gonna pull some more cards. I'm just thinking what path we should take, where we should take this. Let's ask, in the near future, what are their intentions? In the near future, what are their intentions for the Knight of Wands? The Star. So this is about being hopeful, being guided by something, and about pouring yourself out, right? Letting yourself, what's inside, get poured out, shared with someone else. King of Wands. Okay, so from Knight of Wands to King of Wands, pouring yourself out. And 10 of Wands. Okay, there's a ton of fire showing up here, which makes sense given that you chose the Knight of Wands as the significator for this person. Fire is overwhelmingly what we're seeing happening in here. So, in the near future, what are their intentions? They are hopeful, I think, that they could pour themselves out to you and that could turn them into a king, right? Instead of feeling like a knight who's on a quest for something. Knights are always moving, journeying, questing, they're after something. The kings already have that something, right? The kings have achieved, the kings have the thing, whatever it is, right? So I think maybe your knight is very hopeful that they could pour themselves out to you, right? Gather the strength to be vulnerable to you, and that would work out and that they would feel like a king afterwards. But there's also this sense with the 10 of wands of maybe there's a couple ways to read this. One would be burning out, right? 10 is the most wands you could have. And so maybe there's a feeling of like fear that this could be too much. How about we put it that way, right? That the fire could be too much. And for someone who's already fiery, that might be a legitimate concern, right? Um, Another way to think of this would be, I don't know what's going on in your Knight of Wands life, but I do often associate wands with action, sometimes with stress or with career, right? Like the things that we do every day that yes, we're passionate about them, uh, but they also can wear us out and wear us down, right? And so, if the 10 of Wands here isn't related specifically to a relationship with you, this could mean like they're just totally overburdened with work or career or action, like stuff that they're having to do every day. And so, that could be an obstacle to the hopefulness that we see with the star, right? Let's pull three more here and ask. I know. Um, how could the connection between the two of you develop? How could the connection between the two of you develop? Ooh, more wands. Nobody's surprised by that anymore. It's our Peter Pan, 7 of Wands. This is someone who, um, how do I put this nicely? Peter Pan doesn't grow up, does he? Peter Pan doesn't grow up. Peter Pan is an eternally young boy, right? A young person. And so, how will the connection develop? I think there's a lot of potential for it with the star and the King of Wands, but I also wonder about the extent to which your knight might be a little immature, right? Given this 7 of Wands showing up. But let's see what else we get. It's another 7, this time of Swords. And let's just go ahead and pull the third one so that we know. Queen of Wands. So we've got the King and Queen of Wands coming out. Okay, right? King and Queen. You chose the Knight of Wands, and then here, of course, the King and the Queen of Wands show up. And so the King and Queen are a couple, aren't they? They're a couple. Um, but what's between them, right? What connects them? Um, well, sort of two things, I guess. The 7 of Swords, right? If we read like what are the cards between them that link them, 7 of Swords, and then the other is the 10 of Wands. And so this makes me think. Let's talk about the 7 of Swords first. Um, the 7 of Swords can mean deception. It can mean lies. It doesn't have to mean that. It can also mean that someone is doing something and the other person doesn't understand, right? This person is running away in the night with a bunch of swords. And the idea is like, why are they doing that? What is the motivation for them doing it? Maybe they have a really good reason for running off with all them swords, right? But maybe they haven't communicated it super well. Sevens are tough because sevens can be an obstacle, right? And so there might be a communication obstacle between the two of you. However, it's really positive that the King of Wands is showing up and the Queen of Wands are showing up in a reading where the Knight of Wands is the significator, suggesting at least some potential for maturity and the growth of a relationship. The other card then that's showing up, which that it's a connector card between the two of you, is the Ten of Wands. And so that would be a great passion, right? So how will your connection develop? It could be very passionate, but watch out for problems with communication between the two of you. Okay, that's what I would say. Let's pull from the Squid Cake Tarot 3 cards, and let's just ask. Let's ask, what is or could be? What could be? Ooh, we have a jumper. What could be the most valuable thing you could get out of this connection? What could be the most valuable thing to come from this connection? 7 of Swords again. So this is popping out to reinforce communication is going to be key between you. So I'm just going to lay that face up on top of the other 7 of Swords that we saw, right? 7 of Swords, 7 of Swords. So emphasizing that, you know, I hesitate to say this. Okay, because I can imagine like other tarot readers watching this video and they're saying there's something you're not telling them, right? So I'm going to be honest with you. Okay. So I 7 of Swords can mean deception or lies. I did say that, right? But the fact that it's now popped out twice does make me feel like I would be remiss not to say that it may not just be an issue of obstacles communicating. There is a possibility of something a little more deceptive going on there, right? And I feel like it would be unfair of me to, not unfair of me, it would be like immoral of me. I wouldn't be able to like publish this video and feel good about it if I didn't mention that the fact that the 7 of Swords has jumped out after being pulled out randomly means it's worth thinking about that interpretation of the card, right? As you know, like, make sure you can trust this person. I guess that's how I'd put it, right? All right. What is the question that I'd asked? What's the most valuable thing that could come from this connection? Four of Batons, Queen of Batons. I do not believe it. I do not believe it. Ace of Coins. So Queen of Batons is the Queen of Wands, right? So she's popping up again. 4 of Batons, Ace of Coins. Okay, great. So what's the most valuable thing that could come of your connection with this person? Celebrating the fact that it makes you feel like a queen, right? Paired up with a king, presumably, and lots of great potential for well-being. Great potential for well-being. Okay, I'm going to end the reading there. Let me know which cards stood out to you in the comments below. I'd love to hear what resonated. And please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to help me grow the channel. I'll see you next time. Have a great day. Hello, Group 2, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Knight of Swords as the significator, and I paired it with the black agate. Let me set that aside, and I'll put the Knight of Swords, I'll just prop them up right there. Here is the Ethereal Visions Tarot Luna Edition. Let me give that a good shuffle. And we will start by asking the question, what message do you need to know about this person right now? What message do you need to know about this person right now? And then we will pull 3 cards, and you know the drill by now if you've been watching my videos. We'll pull 3 cards, get an answer, formulate another question, and go on from there. See how things develop based on the cards that come up. So if you chose the Knight of Swords, which you did, otherwise you wouldn't be here. If you chose the Knight of Swords, this person you're thinking about is smart. They're a thinker. They maybe like to ponder big questions. They enjoy long discussions or maybe even arguments, right? They're the kind of person who maybe would make a good lawyer. Maybe they like to write, maybe they like to read. They're a good communicator, or at least they have the potential to be a good communicator, right? Maybe they're not there yet. Maybe they're still working on it, but they have the potential to be a good communicator. When there's something that they really care about, that they really believe in, this person will fight for it, right? They will pick their sword up and they will go after it. So what message do you need to hear about this person? What message do you need to hear about this person? King of Cups. Power over their feelings. So maybe they have feelings that they are keeping under control. 7 Pentacles. They're thinking about whether it's worth it to invest themselves. And 8 Cups. That came up in the previous reading. 8 Cups did. Emotional movement, right? Feeling like things are advancing, things are going somewhere emotionally, or the relationship is moving somewhere, going somewhere. So, the Knight of Swords is someone who, as I said, could be a good communicator, but they can also be someone who overthinks things a little bit, and someone who may have trouble sharing their emotions. They might be really good about sharing, I don't know, some factoid that they recently learned watching a YouTube video or something, right? But if it comes down to them telling you or telling somebody else how they feel, they might have a little more problem doing that. But what message do you need to hear about them? There is some great feeling, right? The King of Cups and the Eight of Cups are both saying there's a great sense of emotion. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like this person had a crush on you, or this person is feeling things for you. And maybe it's the kind of thing where it's new and they don't know how to deal with it, right? Like it's a recent advancement. And so they're trying to figure it out. And the 7 of Pentacles here in the middle, this shows a figure who's like been working at something for a while, and now they're stopping and they're looking at what they've done and they're trying to decide, have I done the right thing? Was this worth it in the end? Should I have done something else instead? Is this going to pay off? That's the kind of thing that they're thinking. And this 7 really makes me connect back to the way the Knight of Swords is all about thinking, right? The intellect. And so I wonder if your person is thinking about whether it will be worth it to invest their feelings, their emotions, in you, right? Or if they are holding back because they're like, what if I get hurt? What if opening up emotionally puts me in a vulnerable situation? And if I put my sword down and it becomes a cup, what will I fight back with if I feel vulnerable, right? Um, So, like, I think the message is this person's having thoughts about you, and those thoughts are making them feel things, but they're questioning whether or not uh, investing themselves emotionally is what they want to do right now, right? So let's push these up a little and let's ask a new question. Let's ask, um, what are they thinking of doing in the near-ish future? What are they thinking of doing? Right? Because right now they're thinking about whether they should do anything at all. Is that going to continue? Or are they going to take some action? Or what's going on? Three of Pentacles. So Pentacles keep showing up. And so that does make me think, you know, the Knight of Swords is a thinker. Um, they're rational. They have trouble connecting with their feelings, their emotions, starting relationships, being vulnerable, all of that. And so maybe this person is thinking, like, what if I developed a practical connection with you? Because if I did that, I wouldn't have to be vulnerable, right? Like if I could find a way where we could work on some ordinary project or see each other in a totally ordinary kind of way that's not like a date or something, right? Then like maybe then I wouldn't feel so vulnerable. And here's the Knight of Cups showing up. That's interesting because that suggests King of Cups to Knight of Cups, right? Um, that suggests really having romantic feelings, but I feel like they're not being let out. How about we put it that way? What's this card? The Chariot, which is another water card. We've got water, earth, water, earth, water, water. So there's no action happening. This is what I'm getting. The Knight of Swords, right? When we look at the suits of the tarot, the swords and the wands, those are the active suits, right? And the cups and the pentacles or coins are the more receptive suits, right? And so your knight is all receptive, right? So like maybe they're waiting for you to make the first move, right? Um, they're the Chariot is one card here where I would think this card can be about action, right? Uh, but, you know, it can also just mean like driving around. It doesn't have to mean driving successfully in a particular direction. I especially think that because if you know anything about the astrological correspondences with the tarot, the Chariot is Cancer, right? The zodiac sign of Cancer. And if you think about crabs, Cancer's a crab, right? If you think about crabs, they walk side to side, right? They don't walk forward, they move side to side. And so I wonder if your person here is like going side to side and not moving forward, coming towards you. And that idea for me is reinforced by the fact that we're not seeing any wands, we're not seeing any swords come up, except in this significator, which means there's a potential for it to happen, but it's not happening, right? Like they're afraid or they're vulnerable. They're too concerned about what they could gain or lose, and so they're not actually doing anything, which doesn't mean there's nothing there. It just means they're like they're not willing to sort of get on the horse and raise the sword up and charge into battle, so to speak. All right, let's ask another question. Because well, I don't know that I answered this one. Like, what are they planning to do? I don't think they're going to do anything, unfortunately, right? I think they're feeling a lot of romantic feelings. The Knight of Cups is the most romantic card in the deck, I think, at least as it represents a person, right? The Lovers or the Two of Cups might represent a situation more, but if we're talking about a person, Knight of Cups, um, but that's getting pushed aside by these practical concerns and by this chariot that I think is moving back and forth instead of forward, right? So I don't think that they're planning on taking an action. I think they're waiting to see if you would. And so if they have a Knight of Cups aspect to their personality, that would suggest to me like they might be the kind of person who, if you were to notice something unique about them and just simply point it out, right? Say to them, hey, I noticed that you, I don't know, like have a cool t-shirt, or I noticed that you really like that song that nobody's ever heard of, or I noticed that you have cool blue hair, or like whatever it might be. That might be enough to sort of get the ball rolling with talking to this person. Let's pull three more, and these three I want to know because there's so much potential that is not being acted on. Let's ask. I have two questions in mind. I'm trying to decide which I'm going to go with. What would it take for a relationship to develop between the two of you? What would it take? For a relationship to develop between the two of you? Seven of Swords. We need some swords. Easy answer. We need some swords here. There needs to be some action happening. Nine of Wands, another active suit, right? And the High Priestess, that is interesting to see. I will have to think about that for a moment here. But these first two cards are, it's the first time we're seeing swords or wands in this spread, right? And except for the significator. So that's telling me, what will it take? It will take somebody getting up off their butt and doing something, right? And so Seven of Swords could be trouble communicating, not understanding one another, right? This could be focus. This could be sharpness. This could be like taking the plunge to cut through and say something to the other person. The Nine of Wands, this can be just the attainment of action, right? Swords are action, nines are attainment. And so this could be like picking up one of these wands and doing something with it, being active. Now, this High Priestess is really tricky here because the High Priestess is someone who will often, for her own good, not take action. And so I wonder, like, if you were here, I would ask you, who do you think this card represents? If you think that you are like the High Priestess, then I would almost suggest that what that means is you need to wait for the Knight of Swords to pick their sword up and take action and come to you, right? That would be the way I would read these. What would it take for a relationship to develop between you? But the High Priestess could also mean she knows when to keep quiet when it's the right thing to do, but she has secret knowledge. And so the other thing I think is like, are you, maybe even through the process of this reading, gaining secret knowledge and learning that for your own good, you need to share that knowledge with someone, sort of lift the veil. The High Priestess has the power to do that, although I think she does it very, very rarely. So let's ask the squid cake. Should you be taking action here in this situation? Should you be reaching out to this person, or should you be waiting? So I will pull 3 cards, and these 3 cards are going to represent what could happen, what you could get out of the situation if you wait. Let's frame it that way. If you wait for your Knight of Swords to pick up their sword and do something, what is the likely outcome of that situation? Okay. Justice. So this is about making a very slow decision, but it's the right decision. There's a sword, right? Ace of Cups, new relationship. 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups is happiness, right? As much happiness as you can stand. So the way I framed the question was, what would happen if you wait and do sort of nothing, right? If you behave like the High Priestess. And the answer is, slowly, your Knight of Swords will make the decision to take an action, start a new relationship, and it will be a happy one, right? Easy, straightforward. This guy's got to get his act together, right? Or girl, or whatever pronouns they use, doesn't matter. Could be a person of any gender is the point. This person, the Knight of Swords, is being very receptive. They're thinking, they're trying to decide what to do. And what would it take to have the relationship? They need to actually take some action. And it seems like the best thing for you to do is to just give them a little bit of time, right? Give them time. They're going to be very slow to make a decision, like justice, right? The wheels of justice turn very slowly is a saying we might have heard. But they make the right decision eventually, right? New relationship, Ace of Cups, happiness, 10 of Cups. Cool. I'll leave it there. Let me know in the comments what cards stood out to you, what resonated. Please consider liking and subscribing if you want to help me grow this channel and see more of these readings. And have a great day. I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, Group 3, and welcome to your reading. You chose the Knight of Coins paired with the Fluorite. Let's set that aside. We'll prop up our knight here, and I'll be using the Ancient Italian Tarot deck. This is a Marseille style deck, one of my favorites, in fact. So we're going to start with the question, what message do you need to hear about this person right now? And then we'll see where that takes us. We'll pull more cards as needed and see what kind of answers we could get. Because you chose the Knight of Coins, I think of someone who is dependable, secure. They know how to get up and go to work every day or study every day, whatever it might be. They're down to earth. They're not the kind of person who needs a lot of grounding because they tend to be very grounded. They don't always get really excited about stuff, and so they may not be the kind of person who shows their emotions really visibly. They don't perform their emotions in a really big, showy, excited kind of way, which doesn't mean they don't feel them. It's just that's how they act, right? They could be an earth sign, they could be a Capricorn, they could be a Taurus, Virgo, right? Okay, let's pull 3 cards, and those 3 cards are going to answer the question, what do you need to hear? What message do you need to hear about this person right now? Six coins, or more coins coming at us. So this is can be generosity, can just be expanding. I think a six in this suit as expanding growth of well-being, of resources. Maybe this person's working a lot. 10 swords, overthinking, too many different angles on the situation, having too many thoughts and not knowing. This is about like considering things from so many different perspectives that you can get frozen or exhausted, and so you don't do anything. Um, can also mean back trouble, can also mean feeling deceived in some way, although I don't know that that applies here. Ooh, and the High Priestess or Popess comes up. Interesting, because she came up in the previous reading too. So let's see here. What have we got? We've got coins, we've got swords, and we've got the Popess, aka our favorite High Priestess. So this makes me think that your person, your Knight of Coins, is wanting to give something of themselves, something valuable, right? Like invest themselves in some way by investing like time or energy. It could be money, but I don't think it's about money so much as like, um, it's like not investing money so much as investing valuable resources, right? Like um, spending time with you, for example. Time is maybe the most valuable resource that we have. Um, but they're overthinking things, right? They've got all these swords in their head, and I think it's preventing them from doing anything, right? The Popess or High Priestess has some secret. They know something that other people don't know, but they tend to keep it to themselves, right? The Popess, she's read something in this book, right? And it's important, but she doesn't just go around town telling everybody about it. So this makes me think that your person is feeling like they want to expand things with you, invest in a relationship with you, so to speak. I use invest because it's coins, right? You invest money, right? It's a metaphor. Um, but they're overthinking it, and so they're keeping their mouth shut, right? And I will say that if this is a coins person, a Knight of Coins person, um, coins are kind of how they show that they care, right? Um, right, they're the kind of person who they want to share their resources with you, and for them that's how they're going to show that they care. Whereas like, I don't know, a Knight of Wands would want to share wands, right? Would want to share excitement, desire, things that fire them up, right? The Knight of Coins wants to share their coins, right? Because they're a coins kind of a person. And so seeing the coins here is like, I think, really good. I guess that's the point I'm trying to get at. And they want to share them, be generous with them. The six is about like giving them away, right? Sharing them with others. Um, but these 10 swords are like, there's too much thinking going on. And of course, air and earth are opposite elements. And so there's too many thoughts, preventing action from happening. That's what we get with the Popess. So let's pull three more cards. And these cards are going to answer the question. Let's see. What would it take to get them to do something, to get them to stop overthinking and act? What would it take for your Knight of Coins to do something about their feelings? The Hierophant. So this is about following the rules, learning the rules, following tradition, um, listening to advice or counsel from someone in a position of authority. So, like, does someone they trust need to say, hey, if you really feel like this, you should go talk to that person? Ooh, the lovers. Number five, number six. Five and six of the major arcana. What would it take to get them to do something? Okay, let's just look at the third one. Oh, three majors all at once. 5, 6, 21. Ooh, this is a lot. This is a lot. I have to think about it a little bit because this is a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, what would it take for them to do something? Okay, it's starting to come through. Um, they need to feel, your Knight of Coins needs to feel like pursuing a relationship with you is clearly and obviously um, the right thing to do, right? They need to feel like like they're following the rules. Okay, coins people, they want to belong to the group. They want to follow the rules. They want to trust authority, right? They can also be critical of authority. They're not just like zombies or sheeple or whatever you want to call it, right? But they want to feel like they are following the path, right? They're following the right path. And so I think maybe your person needs a sign that sort of lets them know that path will lead to love, right? Will lead to a relationship. So, right, they're overthinking things and they're not doing anything because they fear that if they do something, they will have strayed off the path, right? They will have broken a rule. They will not have done what authority and conventionality and tradition dictates that they should do, right? And that's holding them back, right? They also might sort of have you elevated up on a pedestal. That's how I would read the world card here. The figure in the middle, um, surrounded by this beautiful wreath, right? And then all of these other people or figures surrounding, um, sort of elevating or thinking about you as being a, a vision of perfection, right? A complete vision of perfection. 21 is the last of the major arcana. It's the world. It's like she brings together all these disparate elements and she's perfect, or he, right? The gender doesn't matter here, person of any gender. Um, so and like you're just a person, right? Like you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, right? So they might be not taking action because they fear that it is going out of the pre-established norms, and they're afraid that they're gonna like break a rule or do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing because you just seem so perfect to them that they can't imagine um, that a relationship could happen between the two of you. So so the question I asked would, what would it take um, for them to do something? It needs to be clear that you are open to the idea of having a relationship with them, right? And so if you were here, we could have a conversation about what that might look like. Because you are not here, I can't really answer with any specifics what that would look like. But it might be the kind of thing where, like, I don't know, if this is someone that you see and could work into the conversation, like, um, I really haven't been dating anyone recently, and wouldn't that be great? Or something like that, or like my friend just got into a relationship with so and so, and I wish that would happen to me. Wink, wink, right? That kind of thing, where you sort of like open the pathway, open a clear um, way for them. Then I think that could make things like start to happen. Okay, let's pull three more and let's ask, what could develop from this connection? What could develop from your connection with this person? Okay, the tower, but we're not afraid of the tower. We know that the tower doesn't mean destruction. The tower can mean a revelation. It's a big change, right? A previously established routine of living existed, and then boop, it falls down. Why? So that something new can be built. Justice, fairness, balance, making the right decisions. And the Knight of Swords. Interesting. So I would read this as a couple, right? What could develop from your connection? Whatever you have going on in your life now, and whatever your Knight of Coins person has going on in their life now, could all fall down to make room for a connection between justice and the Knight of um, Swords. And I'm just thinking back to the way that 10 of Swords showed up at the very beginning of this reading, and thinking about your Knight of Coins picking up one of those swords instead of overthinking it all the time, right? They focus and they make a decision, and they get the idea to have the sword, to pick up just the one right sword, the one good sword, um, and um, like take an action, right? If we go back to the idea that swords and wands are active suits, right? And then the coins and the cups are more passive suits. We can think of the idea that, like, if the tower falls down, your knight could turn from a Knight of Coins to a Knight of Spades and take some action finally. And then I would see these as a couple because they're both holding swords, right? In the same way that, like, the King and Queen of Swords are paired up. They each have similar implements, right? In their hands, like they're a couple. Let's ask with the squid cake very quickly. Let's ask. I'm trying to think of the best question to ask. In the near future, what is your person likely to do? Likely is a tough word because it means, let's rephrase it then. In the near future, what are they thinking of doing? Whether they do it or not, that's trickier. So let's ask, what are they like thinking of or planning of doing? The Hermit. 2 coins. 5 batons. So, what are they thinking of doing? Well, I think they're lonely with the hermit. The question is, okay, I see it. So they're feeling lonely, and so they're wanting to seek out other people, but they're juggling, right? They're like, should I do it? Should I not? Should I? Like they have a choice to make. That's twos, right? They have a choice to make. And then the five of batons I would read as overcoming and taking an action, right? Um, the two batons on each side that form an X, right, are like blocking the way, but the five pushes through the mesh in the middle and is able to do something, is able to overcome the hemming and hawing. And so I think if their loneliness gets to them enough, they will realize they have a choice to make, right? And they will overcome that and take an action, right? Um, with batons, I think of fire. And so I think like electricity. And so texting, like maybe they would text. That's a possibility there. Okay, I will end the reading there. Let me know which of these cards stood out to you, what resonated. Please consider liking and subscribing if you'd like to help me grow the channel. And I will see you in your next reading. Have a great day. Hello, Group 4. Welcome to your reading. You chose the Knight of Cups with the Desert Rose Selenite. I'll set that aside. And let's just prop our Knight of Coins right up here. We've got the Radiant Rider-Waite Smith Tarot, which I have shuffled. I'm going to shuffle it some more. We'll pull 3 cards, and those cards will answer the question, what message do you need to hear about your person that you chose to be represented by the Knight of Cups? And then we'll pull some more cards depending on what comes up with the first 3, and probably pull a total of 9, and then 3 more from the Squid Cake and see what kind of answers we can get today. So since you chose the Knight of Cups, your person is probably pretty romantic. They are in touch with their emotions. They might be creative. They might be the kind of person who's like interested in unconscious desires or feelings, like who's in touch with their unconscious, or at least who aspires to be, right? This like might be someone who at one time or another or in the moment is in therapy because they're trying to understand themselves. That's something that a Knight of Cups would probably be more open to than some of the other knights. What else about this person? They can be very deep, right? Have deep ideas, feelings, all of that. All right, let's see. What do you need to know? What message do you need about this person now? The World comes up. The World came up in a previous reading. So that could mean a whole lot of things. Let's look at the next one. Okay. Well, both of these can mean endings in different ways, right? The World can mean an ending because it's the last card of the Major Arcana, number 21. And so then we go back to the Fool and the Magician, and all of that starts over again. And so in that sense, it's like the perfect completion of something, a perfect resolution. All the different parts come together, and there's an ending of some kind happening. Death is also an ending, but it's a different kind of ending. It's not an ending as in a total resolution. It's something that needs to end so that something else can continue, right? It's like the death card happens. There's a death of the ego or a death of the an aspect of the personality or whatever it might be, so that the fool's journey can continue beyond 13 and up to 21. So this is interesting to put these cards next to one another because we've got two different kinds of an ending happening. Let's see what this is. King of Wands. Well, that is curious. I'm just thinking this is a king. Down here on the death card, this person who, well, looks like has died. They've got a crown, right? And so I'm thinking of this king and that king. This king has died. I'm trying to figure out, let's see, let me just think for a moment. Fire, water, earth, water. I'm thinking about the resurrection of the king, right? Because the king in death is dead, and then here it's like they're alive again and they're looking back on what has happened. So is like is I wish I could talk to you. Is this someone that you've had a relationship with in the past? I ask that because it's almost like I'm seeing the end, a resolution, but then and so the let's call it passion dies. I say passion because of the King of Wands wand, fire's passion, right? And it's like it's over. Everybody thought it was over. There was a resolution. It finished, right? It's dead. But then the fires come back again. So that would be one interpretation, is that if this person is someone who you dated in the past, or one of the two of you had a crush on the other one in the past, or there's some connection that has already happened with this person that seemed like it wasn't going to go anywhere, or it did go somewhere, but then it ended, that now it's coming back, that its power, I think of kings as power, it's being resurrected. It was dead, but now it's alive again. That's the kind of thing that I'm getting here. From these very odd cards that we're seeing. So I think that's the direction that I'm going to take this reading. And I recognize it may not apply to all of you. So if it doesn't apply to you, there are 3 other readings in this video that maybe are for you. So let's follow this one as this is someone who you had some connection with in the past, and it seemed like it was over, it wasn't going anywhere, but these cards are saying it's alive again. That king, he's back up on the throne, and he's looking back over what transpired before. So let's pull 3 more cards, because now I want to know so many things about this. Let's ask next. What are they thinking of doing? Your Knight of Cups, whose power of passion has been resurrected after a resolution. What are they thinking of doing? High Priestess. So they're feeling things again that they haven't felt in a while, but right now they're planning to keep quiet about it. Ooh, before taking an action. Ooh, but they're really anxious. Like they can't sleep at night. They're dreaming about you. Oh, they're looking off into the sunset, wondering, why am I alone? So they know that there's something there, but the high priestess is like saying they're keeping quiet about it, even though it's true, and so they're looking off. Um, the Three of Wands can be someone who's like sent off a message, done an action, made an effort, right? And now they're waiting to see if it's going to do anything. And the Nine of Swords is extreme anxiety, and the anxiety is through their head, through their mind, through their eyes, through their heart. So it's almost like they're trying to keep quiet, right? This high priestess is water, and Three of Wands is fire. So these are competing. These are almost like trying to cancel each other out. They don't know if they should keep quiet or if they should like send a message out and see what comes back. And so because they're stuck between those, they're just feeling anxious. They're just like they don't know what to do with themselves. So what are they planning to do? They haven't decided. They're alternating back and forth in their anxiety, trying to figure out should they keep quiet or send a message. And it's really eating away at them. They are not happy about where things were left between the two of you. That's how I would read this. So let's ask another question. I don't know if this is someone that you want something to happen with, or if you're like over it but curious, or like I don't know what your motivations were for clicking on this part of the video. But let's ask, how could the relationship develop? Like if the two of you were to try again, where would that go? If you've already tried and it didn't work, is anything different going to happen? Like, would it work? The Devil. 7 Wands. Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so I'm thinking about how I want to say this. So, okay, one way of reading these would be what could come of your connection? The two of you get into a devilish relationship that maybe involves some manipulation, deception, or lies, right? They're struggling, right? Maybe some fighting, and the wheel is spinning. We don't know how it's going to end up, right? Circumstances outside of your control are going to determine where everything lands. And so the cards are saying it would be a very volatile situation, right? Another way of reading this, let's put a positive spin on it. I'm going to do my best, okay? The devil can be very sexy, right? And the devil can be very exciting. And the devil can be a lot of fun, a whole lot of fun. You just have to be careful not to get trapped, right? The 7 of Wands could be taking the high ground and maintaining a high ground, right? And so you see the way that this figure is, they're like at the top of a hill or a cliff, and everyone else is below them, sort of fighting them off, but they've got the position of advantage being up above here. One of their feet is firmly on the earth, on the ground, and the other one is on the water, right? So they're also in touch with their emotions, and so there's a nice balance there between sort of all of the elements, right? Although it is dominated by fire. So like, I guess what I'm saying is there could be a whole lot of passion that's a lot of fun, right? A whole lot of passion that could be a whole lot of fun. with this person, but you would want to be wary because it's volatile and the Wheel of Fortune says there's an element of chance here, right? Like it's a little bit of a gamble. What would happen um, were you to start dating this person again, right? Or if you haven't dated, bring them back into your life in some way. So let's ask the squid cake a final question. Let's ask, let's say that you're willing to do a little gamble. I don't know if you are, but let's say you're like, yeah, this, I would be willing to like, spin the wheel again with this person and see what happens. So, assuming you want to do that, let's ask the cards. Is there some action you should be taking? We know that your person is out here with anxiety, trying to decide if they should just keep their mouth shut or text you, take some action, whatever communication method they would use. What should you do? Right? Should you be doing something? Should you not? What should be happening here? Let's see what kind of cards we get. Five of Swords, Strength, Seven of Batons. Okay, so these are all very active cards, right? Swords, Batons, Strength, those are about doing something, right? So that makes me think that this person, because of all this anxiety that they're caught up with, they may not, like you might need to take an action here, right? Had we gotten all coins and cups, or in the High Priestess or something, right? That would tell me like, if you want to pursue something with this person, that you don't need to do anything. This is saying if you want to pursue something with this person, you do actually need to do something, right? Five of Swords would be have a breakthrough, right? The way that this sword in the middle breaks through the other four, have the strength to act, to do something. And Seven of Batons, right? Comes up here. It's the same as these two, right? Despite feelings to the contrary, you're going to have to pick up the baton and go for it. So if you want this to go somewhere again, it's kind of saying the ball is sort of in your court right now. And just remember, it does seem like it's a bit of a gamble, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat this. You know, we've got the Death, we've got Devil, we've got the Wheel of Fortune. And I'm not going to tell you things are all pretty and happy and lovely when that's not what the cards say, right? It sounds like you were going to have to take some action and do something. The other thing, of course, you could do is not, is you could be like, I'm not going to gamble. I'm not going to spin the wheel again with this person. I'm not going to go out on a limb, and I'm not going to try to overpower the situation. Instead, I just want to leave them with their anxiety and let them be unable to sleep at night, and I'm happy with that. And if you are happy with that, good for you. I'm happy to support that decision of yours. All right, let me know which of these cards stood out to you, what resonated in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And consider liking and subscribing if you want to help me grow this channel. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great day, and I will see you in your next reading.